All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro. Donald Trump calling somebody crazy. Wow, the irony. Welcome back to the show. We're obviously covering the impeachment inquiry hearings, everything that has taken place this week, last week. It's getting interesting. Maybe not positive for Donald Trump and his administration, but it certainly is getting interesting. The guy we have with us on the line right now, he is a Donald Trump supporter. He is a Hollywood producer. We call him Mr. X, the Hollywood conservative, out of fear that something negative might happen to him if we release his name on the air. Mr. X, thank you for joining us. How are you?
What's up, Mr. X?
I have a new favorite quote, actually, that I received earlier this week. I was in consideration to write a Western for a small production company, and they reached out and said, we think we're going to go with a female writer because we don't want to appear sexist.
That's seriously, that happened?
Oh, 100%. I have it is phenomenal. My actual response, I'm not kidding you, was I actually cut and pasted from online the dictionary definition of the word sexist.
Wow, that's rough. That's rough.
There,
as you know,
this is the liberal. This is your party, man.
Well, no, it's not my party because I'm not a liberal and I'm not associated with a party, and also I don't defend any of that stuff. I don't defend any of that stuff, not giving somebody a job or giving somebody a job because of gender, sex, you name it. You know, I think that's the problem with this country is we associate each other with parties instead of associating each other with Americans.
Well, what was it called? Annie, get your gun? Because if it wasn't, I could understand that.
No, it wasn't, actually. That's the funny thing. It's actually like a pretty male-centric script or concept, so I think that's why they're very misguided.
Well, speaking of parties, let's talk a little bit about this party they're calling the impeachment inquiry. I just did a segment, talking a little bit about how Republicans are out there with these conspiracy theories. They're going after these witnesses, some of whom are war heroes. For example, Vindman, who's a Purple Heart recipient, who has shrapnel in his body, who is clearly more American than me. That's for sure. He risked his life for this country. And then there are politicians, there are right-wing talk show hosts that are calling him un-American. Some even joking around saying, when are we going to get a real American on the stand? I can't imagine that you support that kind of rhetoric.
Do you want my honest thoughts about the impeachment proceedings?
Well, yeah.
Yes.
And then specifically what I asked you about some of those comments.
Here's my thoughts. Do you think Trump's going to be impeached?
Well, if there are a couple of Republicans out there in your party that have a backbone, I would say yes, but I don't think they do have a backbone, so I would say no.
Just to confirm,
this is a dog and pony show in ahead of the next election because the Democrats are desperate because they do not have a real candidate,
which is very true.
A dog and pony show? You don't have a problem with anything the president has done based on the evidence that
I have a problem with some of the things that he's done. Do I think he should be impeached? Absolutely not. Do I think that every president prior to him for probably the past 30 to 40 years have done things just as bad or worse? 100%.
Where's the evidence to support that?
It's purely a PR battle.
I see, but I disagree with you. Where's the evidence? Listen, I'm not a Barack Obama supporter, but where is the evidence to back up that claim that you're telling me that Barack Obama withheld aid to a country for personal gain?
Withheld what?
Withheld financial aid to a country for personal gain. Show me evidence of that.
I mean, I don't have any evidence.
So why would you make that statement then?
Well, I mean, what about this, Brad? What about when he gave lots of money to Iran?
Completely different scenario.
And other countries like
Completely
considering that they are Muslim countries and he himself is a Muslim as well. Isn't that kind of in his best interest or for personal gain?
So
a valid point.
You think that's a valid point?
How is it not a valid point?
So you're saying that money
isn't that kind of on the same plane though?
It purely is how that president is viewed by the media and in general, and the way that they try to portray him. Because, yes, that could absolutely be just as bad. No question about it.
What personal gain did Barack Obama get by doing that?
I don't know. Maybe he's got ties to some Muslim radicals that help.
Right. No evidence to support that. No evidence to support that.
You don't know that it didn't increase his relationships with those countries.
You don't know it either. So why
exactly.
You don't know it either. So why would you make a claim when you have no idea what you're saying?
I'm just saying it could be construed as something that helps Barack Obama, giving
and
money.
I'm asking you how.
And he gave a lot of money to some of those countries.
And I'm asking you, I have evidence with Donald Trump.
It would increase his relationships.
Here's the difference between.
You don't have.
Here's the difference between.
Brian. You have what MSNBC is.
No, I don't. No, I don't. I have the transcript. No, I don't. The difference between what you two guys are doing and what I'm doing is I actually have evidence. He actually brought up the Bidens in that conversation. There are witnesses that have testified the last 2 weeks that said they believe there was a quid pro quo. There are evidence. Sondland testified that Giuliani told him that we are withholding the aid unless they open up an investigation into the Bidens. That is the president's personal attorney. That's evidence.
Okay. I think I incorrectly phrased what I said earlier.
Okay, fair enough.
Is there a specifically, and this is not a rhetorical question, is there a specifically laid out list of actions or things that a president can do which would lead to his impeachment?
Listen, that's a different debate. I don't know if what he did was impeachable.
No, it's not at all.
That's a different debate.
I could look at a policy that Obama or Bush, or it could be anything. The fact that he went on Saturday Night Live, I could find that so horrifically offensive that I think he should be impeached for it.
Okay, but listen, I had this conversation.
What he's saying, it's based on personal preference instead of a solid guideline.
And the point that I'm trying to make is that Trump has done many things that could be viewed as a positive for this country. And he's probably done a lot of shady things.
But no one talks about the positive.
I believe a lot of previous presidents have done. Any policy, let's say Obama, created a policy that was anti, the NRA or something like that or whatever. Like, I could view that and go, this guy should be impeached.
Okay, well, he could be the perfect. Here's my opinion on that. I'll give you 2 points. He could be the perfect president. Everything could be great and dandy. It still wouldn't make what he did on that phone call right. That's number one. Number two.
Fine. I'm not saying that. But the point is, what is the bar for impeachment? It's a serious question.
Well, certainly in my
Clinton sticking a cigar into an intern? I don't know. Should he be impeached?
Well, because he lied about it under oath.
Not.
He lied about it under oath.
Okay, fine.
So let me answer your question. Let me answer your question.
The bar?
Well, let me tell you what I think the bar is here. Okay, I think Sondland's testimony, a guy who donated $1 million to the Trump campaign, a guy who has protected the president at every end. In fact, a few weeks ago in a written statement, he lied and then he changed his testimony because he was trying to protect the president. This guy gets up there on the stand and said he had multiple conversations with Donald Trump's personal attorney with a quid pro quo. I find that to be very troubling and serious, and anybody should. We had a guy that testified yesterday that overheard a phone conversation, actually heard Donald Trump's voice, and they were talking about just that. Those, to me, are very, very serious situations, and they should be taken seriously. Now, will it rise to the level of impeachment? I don't know. I can tell you right now, if we had Donald Trump on audio saying, I'm going to withhold this aid until you open up an investigation, I would say, Mr. X, 110% that is an impeachable offense. But the fact that Giuliani gave a quid pro quo to Sondland, to me, is extremely troubling and serious, and it should be troubling to anybody.
Listen, man, here's what I'm going to say to that. Don't tell me what I think should be troubling. Seriously. Like, let's say that the point I'm trying to make is that there are many people in this country who have been directly or indirectly helped by things that Donald Trump has done as a president, just as there were by Obama and the various factions of society that he has helped or harmed. The factions of society that he's helped probably disagree with you that, let's say, Trump did do something that was very troubling that you just described. Let's say he did do something for personal gain. They look at that and go, no, don't impeach this guy. He's doing a great job. So I go back to my question. What are the firmly laid out things that a president can or cannot do which could lead to impeachment? That's my issue.
Abuse of power, putting yourself before the country, putting yourself before the country.
And every president in history at some point probably should have been impeached.
So give me a specific.
They've all done it to a degree.
They've all done something where they benefited from being president. Like, look at Obama and Michelle Obama. Like, she's writing a book.
That's after the presidency, and there's no. That's a ridiculous analogy. That's a ridiculous analogy.
I mean, it could be argued that
there is no law.
Brian, it could be argued that some of the money that Obama gave Muslim countries was used to form ISIS.
Every
and
single
he did that for his own self-interest.
There's no evidence to support any of that. That's a conspiracy theory.
Okay, so then let me ask you a question. Do you think that Obama did anything during his presidency that benefited himself?
You're not talking about post-presidency, because I don't know why you'd bring up a book that Michelle Obama made.
I'm trying to make a point. Fine, forget the book. During his presidency, do you think Obama did anything that gained him personally?
I don't know. Give me an example. I'll hear you out. I don't know.
I don't know. Like, what about?
I don't have any information.
Go on ESPN and talk about the March Madness. Like,
so let me get this straight. All right, so let's talk about this for a second. You're comparing, and I know you're a smart guy. You are comparing.
Don't accept the backhand compliment. Don't do it.
Okay. You are comparing Barack Obama doing a TV interview talking about basketball as the president of the United States to Donald Trump withholding aid to open up an investigation into a political rival. Are you really making that analogy?
You're doing what most reporters and, frankly, Democrats do, which is to try to miss the point and compare.
Give me something that you think Obama has done that raises to the level.
He's trying to catch you.
The point I'm trying to make is I asked you a question that you still haven't answered.
Because I don't know the answer to it. I'm not going to make something up like a lot of Republicans have done the last couple of weeks. I don't have the answer.
I'm asking your opinion. Do you think that Barack Obama did anything during his presidency that benefited him?
I don't have anything in front of me, and I can't. Now, certainly he's benefited after the presidency.
Okay, so you're saying no. So you're saying you don't.
No, I'm saying
literally the guy was a saint.
I didn't say he was a saint. I didn't say he was. Didn't say that.
Moment of his entire. Okay.
Didn't say that.
The point is,
Barack Obama was literally Barry Poppins.
Okay. Well, I didn't say that, so I don't know why you guys are.
Not only that, but this guy was like the master of.
So I'm asking you a question now. Tell me, what did the only thing you've brought up is a book that Michelle Obama did after the presidency, which is ridiculous, and then you brought up an interview that he did on ESPN. I'm asking you a question now, and I'm turning it back on you. I'm asking you a question. What did Barack Obama do that raises to the level of what Donald Trump did withholding aid? I'm all ears. Tell me.
That's not you're nothing. Barack Obama. I have no evidence of any particular action that Barack Obama performed that is quote unquote worse than what you're
good.
Donald Trump.
Okay, good. That's my point.
Now, great. Now here's my point. What is an impeachable offense for a president? You said if the president does something that benefits himself.
Abuse of power.
That's what you said.
Abuse of power.
Okay. And my question was, do you think that Barack Obama and all of the previous presidents that have run this country have ever utilized their power in any way that did not strictly benefit the country? Do you think that from dawn till dusk, every action they committed fully 100% was only good for the country, or do you think that they did anything good for themselves?
The reason why when you bring up Barack Obama, I cannot answer that question is because I don't have any evidence, just like the way you answered it.
We're not lawyers in a courtroom, dude.
Right.
I'm asking a simple question.
What about the way that Barack Obama handled the Trayvon Martin situation, and he pandered towards African Americans, and he definitely made racial relations worse in this country?
That's an opinion. That doesn't have to do with personal gain. What does it have to do with personal gain?
It doesn't. It does have to do with personal gain.
What?
It does. Look. I don't think that you're understanding my question. My point is,
I don't think you're understanding my answer. I'm not going to say no or yes when I have no evidence to back it up.
So is your opinion that impeachment is something that should strictly be based upon the opinion of how certain people feel about what
I believe? I'll answer by saying this. I believe it should be a case-by-case basis based on the seriousness of the allegations, based on the evidence.
You're opening a horrible can of worms.
If you can if you could tell me something that another president did, I'll hear you out.
Listen, no, that's not the point. The point is, whoever our next president is, let's say that it's a Democrat, right? And they do something, whatever it is, that the Republicans view as being so wrong that the good that they have performed is null and void, and that they should be kicked out of the presidency. That's what's going to happen.
Okay, well, you have to understand where I'm coming from, though. We're not talking about a stick of bubble gum. Okay, there are different levels that we are talking about, different degrees of the seriousness of abuse of power. Okay, we're not talking about a free meal.
No, we're not. You're not getting what I'm saying. It is the opinion of the Democrats and apparently of you that something that Trump did is worse than the good that he's done, or is worse than what past presidents.
It shouldn't be a part of the conversation.
What Clinton did.
Shouldn't be a part of that conversation. The good that he's done has nothing to do with these impeachment inquiries.
If there's a law, if there are particular actions that a president can commit where he will be impeached, and somebody does one of those things, then impeach him. My problem with this whole proceeding is that it is strictly based, clearly, to anyone who's not horrifically biased, it's clearly based on, to really just attack Trump's reputation and try to harm him.
Yeah, because he has such a wonderful reputation to this point. You're right.
Well, because of the media and because they were.
Oh yeah, don't put any responsibility on Donald Trump's. Don't put any responsibility on Donald Trump's actions, behaviors, tweets, going after John McCain, going after a Gold Star family, attacking a woman based on her looks, cheating on Melania Trump, paying Stormy Daniels $120,000. It has nothing to do with his behaviors, right? It has everything to do on the media.
You know what's hilarious about what you just said? What does any of that have to do with the good of the country?
You just talked about his reputation.
No. You said that if a president does something that's for their own good and not the good of the country, what if those things you just mentioned have any effect on any?
I'll tell you why I brought those up. I'll tell you why I brought those up, and I will answer your question.
Because you're biased and because you hate Trump.
No, it's because it's because you mentioned his reputation and you blame the media, and I just gave you 4 or 5 examples.
Exactly.
His own doing and his own behavior. Now I will answer your question.
That's why the Democrats are so stupid is because they're attacking his reputation and nobody cares.
Exactly.
They care about jobs. They care about the economy. They care about the things that he's actually doing that are important.
The Democrats don't understand.
This, like, social media, like TMZ nonsense about what he tweeted. Like,
okay,
who cares?
well, that's your opinion. I don't think it's TMZ.
Exactly.
I don't think it's TMZ nonsense when you get up there on a stage with Vladimir Putin and kiss his ass. I don't think it's TMZ nonsense when you get up there on a stage with Kim Jong-un and say, "I believe you. You had nothing to do with the Otto Warmbier murder." I don't think that's TMZ nonsense, and I also don't think it's TMZ nonsense when you withhold aid from another country, an ally, for personal gain because of a political opponent that is going to be going up against you in 2020. That is not TMZ, and that is not Kim Kardashian. That is not Kim Kardashian showing her underwear. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the president of the United States. I'm sorry, what'd you say, JD? I was just trying to finish my point.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
go ahead.
They were trying to make sure that they weren't corrupt. He was making sure that he wasn't giving $1 billion to a country where the money could be misappropriated, and I have no problem with him.
So it had nothing to do with the.
Okay. Also, Joe Biden has been in office for 30 to 40 years, and he also was ensuring that the Burisma situation with his son wasn't totally corrupt, considering the investigation lasted about 3 hours.
And there was no evidence that any law was broken.
Because the investigation lasted about 3 hours, House Democrats were involved, and Joe Biden went on TV and said, if this isn't done in 6 hours, I'm withholding $1 billion because I'm suspecting corruption.
Not factually accurate, and there is no evidence to support that anybody broke the law. You could make the argument that his son probably got the job because of his father, but that is not against the law.
So why would someone hire a guy from the United States, pay him $70,000 a month, and have him do what?
I could ask the same thing about Jared Kushner. It's the same situation. Why would Jared Kushner be in the position he is in? Because his father-in-law is Donald Trump.
Jared Kushner is where? Where is he? What country?
What does that have to do with anything?
Because this is a foreign country hiring a guy from the United States.
We're talking about the same thing here.
Whose father? No, we're not.
He didn't break the law.
A foreign country hiring a guy
from
the United States
son.
Whose father is the vice president of the United States.
So what did he do? How did they break the law?
We have absolutely no idea, but is it possible?
Exactly. You have no idea. Exactly. You made my point.
Because
you're forming an opinion and you have no idea.
You're not actually not letting me form my opinion, Brian. You're trying to
form it. I've heard this argument with you before.
You're trying to stop me from forming the opinion.
I've heard this. Go ahead. I've heard it many times.
And I suggest that you don't do that.
Well, go ahead. Make your opinion. I've heard it. I know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
Oh, you know what I'm going to say? What am I going to say, Brian?
I do. You're going to give details of how you think the Bidens are corrupt and they broke the law. When there's no evidence to support
what I'm going to say is, why would a major oil company from a different country hire the son of the vice president of the United States?
That's exactly. I was right.
Unless they were looking for specific information, private information that the son will be able to give them from the vice president of the United States, because the son had zero experience or zero business being hired by that company.
I was right. That's exactly what you just did.
I'm asking
You're making assumptions.
I'm asking you, why would they do that?
I just told you why. I've said this a million times. And by the way, I was right. I knew you were going to say that. It's because his father at the time was the vice president of the United States. But that doesn't mean he broke the law.
But that's
what you don't understand.
From Jared.
Go ahead, Mr. X. Go ahead.
It's fine. I want to relate to something that you asked earlier, because I'm sad to say, I'm in the film industry. I don't pay a ton of attention to like the day-by-day nonsense of politics. So to answer your question, I'm literally reading an article right now about terrible things that Barack Obama did during his
Are you on InfoWars?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay. I was just checking.
I'm looking at these facts, and I'm not even going to get into it, but like even something like Obamacare, right, which was everyone knew about, and which, in my opinion, was an unmitigated disaster.
Well, they gave 20 million people health insurance that didn't have it at the time, so I disagree with you.
Fine. Regardless, in my opinion, he should have been impeached for proposing Obamacare.
Okay, well, I think that's ridiculous. I think that's utterly ridiculous.
I think your opinion's ridiculous.
That's fine.
Trump, with all of the positive things that he's done, because of this phone call and because of
so once again, you're comparing
which could be construed as standard negotiation.
You're comparing.
Between
hold on a second. Now another comparison. You're comparing Barack Obama and Obamacare and pushing that through to Donald Trump withholding aid for personal gain. You're really comparing the two.
In fact, I would say Obamacare is 1,000 times worse.
Okay, well, that's insane. So what would you say to the 20 million people that got health insurance that didn't have it before? What would you say to the 20 million people now that have health insurance that weren't able to have health insurance before Obamacare? What would you say to them?
It's not affordable. It's disastrous. The medical industry is incredibly corrupt, and I think that it raised taxes for people that should not.
And do you know why? And do you know why Republicans didn't pass it? Do you know why?
Do you know what Obamacare did to small businesses?
Well,
it basically destroyed them.
I was going to ask you.
It helped corporations.
Then
Brian.
what is the Republicans' answer? Why didn't they have an answer? Why didn't they have something that they could pass through? There's a reason why John McCain didn't vote it in. You know why? Because the Republicans didn't have a plan. All they did was complain about Obamacare. What is the answer then?
It doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is it was a disaster.
Then what's the solution? Then what's your solution?
I'm not going to give a solution. That's not the point I'm trying to raise. The point I'm trying to make is that you believe that whatever Trump did, this phone call and withholding, that your opinion about something that he withheld aid or whatever it is worse and a reason for someone to not be president opposed to all of the good that he has done.
I'd say it's worse than Bill Clinton. And the good he has done should have no bearing on the conversation. We're talking about what he did. If somebody murders somebody, do you talk about, well, you know what?
That's an absurd statement.
If somebody commits a mass shooting, do we talk about, well, you know, he was a really great guy?
So are you comparing a mass shooting to what Donald Trump did now, Brian?
I'm comparing an analogy. I'm comparing an analogy.
That's a left-wing bias buffoon analogy you made there, Brian.
You're just making ridiculous comments now. The reason why.
No, you are.
Okay, listen.
The point I'm trying to make is
the point you're making is because he did some good things that we should ignore the bad things? Is that what you're saying?
I think you're sounding like a left-wing biased buffoon, Brian.
Okay. JD, that's JD's attempt at trying to be funny. It's not working.
Brian,
yeah.
You created jobs for millions of people for the good of the country.
Mr. X, can you stick around for another 15 minutes?
I can't, guys.
I'm up against a hard break.
I wish I could.
Damn it.
I love you guys.
Mr. X. I
love you guys.
I love you too, Mr. X. You know that. I was a little tough on you today, but this was a good debate, and I wish we had more time with you. I'm up against a hard break, Mr. X. I got to go. I apologize. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks a lot, Mr. X.
Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're not going to believe what Lindsey Graham said years ago about Joe Biden. We'll be back right after this.